Welcome back to the Monterey Park Bruggemeyer Library. Our last guest today, a very special guest, is Norma Arvizu, who is an administrator of our LAMP literacy program. A program that really we have found in our community is very much needed and very much appreciated by everyone here. Before we talk about LAMP, tell us a little bit about your background. How did you become involved in literacy?
Actually, Dan, many years ago, I think it was sparked off when I was a young teen and witnessed my grandparents going through citizenship classes and the struggle and the challenges that they actually encountered in trying to learn English, let alone government. And I think that it was then that I realized that there needed to be someone who could campaign, advocate for the English language learner. Through my career, I then went into education, and I taught elementary, and I also worked with children who were English language learners who also still struggled in their academic reading and school. Later on, I went on into adult education, and it was then that I realized I really had a passion for working with adults. Absolutely. And literacy. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And providing real service. And actually, mentioning about your grandparents, my grandparents got married. They came out here from Shepetov in the Ukraine and really spoke very little English when they came here. And back in those days, there was no service like that. And I imagine that would have been very helpful for them, and I think for generations of Americans, really. So.
Well, you know, a lot of people don't stop to think that it is very difficult for a new immigrant to come into this country, acclimate to our new culture, and then let alone learn the language. It's difficult, and there's many services out there that are here to help and support those. Unfortunately, we don't advertise that it's a struggle and that it requires a lot of time and patience, and a lot of caring people need to be involved to help support that learner.
Absolutely. So let's say I'm new to the country, I barely know English, and I don't really even know where to start. What can LAMP do for me?
Well, the first thing I would suggest to any family member who has someone in their family that needs to learn English, bring him into our office. What we do is we provide a basic assessment test that kind of tells us where their basic literacy skills are at. And then we will plan what we call an educational individual plan for them, and we will determine then if they'll need a one-to-one session with the tutor or they would benefit more from a whole classroom instruction. Sometimes our learners do really well if they do maybe with partnering with another couple or a couple of friends in a group, and that helps a lot with the confidence, the translation. It just gives them a familiar, interactive place for learning.
That's terrific. Now let's say here's another scenario. I've born here in the U.S., American, and yet I never really learned to read. I'm ashamed of that fact, and I know that I need help. How can LAMP help?
Well, unfortunately, there is actually a huge literacy epidemic in this country. 14% of Americans cannot read. That equates to 1 out of 7 adults. And the first thing I would suggest is there's no shame in not learning how to read, because there's many reasons why that could have happened. There could have been sometimes children dropped through the academic learning system. There's disruption in school, transitions of moving from state to state, and many other things that occur. But what we would do is determine, have a proficiency level assessment, have them realize that we offer many private one-to-one tutoring sessions where no one else is around.
So they feel less self-conscious.
So they feel, right, exactly. So they're not so embarrassed. I think one of the biggest drawbacks and factors that makes illiteracy continue to happen is that people are embarrassed that they'll be reading next to somebody else, and someone will ridicule them, demoralize them.
And so you've set up the program to try to avoid that kind of situation.
Absolutely. All our volunteers and instructors are very sensitive to the fact that there is a huge embarrassment factor. And there are many adults that actually continue working through life, not knowing how to read, but can actually speak very fluent in English, but will avoid every chance to pick up a book.
And certainly there's no shame in seeking out help. And I think there's great credit and bravery in admitting and seeking out help and seeking to improve oneself. There's certainly nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
Absolutely. Reading is the one source that can empower an individual to do anything in life.
Absolutely. So what are some of the other services offered by LAMP?
Well, we actually have several services, and I'm going to start off with one that's very popular, is our one-to-one tutoring, where you actually come in and you're matched with a tutor, and you meet with that tutor once a week and have a learning session. We have the whole classroom instruction where we actually have different levels of ESL, English as a second language classes. And so we have the grammatical structure there, the conversation of English, so that they get more of an exposure in an interactive classroom. We also have the small groups, as I said, which also works really well. But there's also something we do that people aren't aware of, is that we also target the families. It's not just the adults.
That's true. It's a group effort, really.
It's a group effort. We have children of these illiterate adults that are struggling because they don't have the support at home.
Right.
So what we do is we target these families. We bring them in once a month. We offer the basic foundations of early literacy, help and support the adult to work with this child. Another service we also provide is that we work with the local schools. We target approximately the children who are suffering or struggling with English. We bring them in and we give them reading enhancement. And that is done through the calendar school year.
Right. Oh, that's terrific. A real great supplement.
It
really,
is.
And a great enhancement of the learning experience, really, for
Absolutely.
really all ages.
Absolutely.
So are there any upcoming special events we should know about? Or?
Well, actually, we have a family food nutrition that's coming up during the months of July. We'll be doing that every single Wednesday.
Terrific.
We will actually be having healthy treats, teaching how to read the nutrition factor on any product you do at the supermarket, which is wonderful.
Offset the popcorn and candy we're having.
That's right. Everything that the young adults is doing, we're going to offset it over
Right.
in literacy. And then also the reading programs will continue through the summer. I know that most of the adult education agencies are closing for the summer due to budget cuts, but we will remain open. We will continue to service the needs of our community. And then in September, we have a beginning literacy class we are opening.
Well, certainly in these troubled economic times, a service like yours is more important than ever. And we really do appreciate your willingness to continue this through the summer.
Absolutely.
There was some question about that, and we realized there is a need.
There is
and you're busier than ever, and I think people are voting with their feet for this service every day. And so I think really, we really are very impressed, certainly.
Thank you.
We do appreciate you being here, and we wish you the best of luck. And actually, I just also wanted to mention that you are very dependent on volunteers.
Absolutely. Our entire program actually is structured on strictly volunteer. And these are wonderful people that give us their time and their consideration to help and change a life in someone in this community.
And how can they contact you if they either want to volunteer or to take advantage of one of the LAMP services?
I would suggest that they please call us at 626-307-1251 and come in and talk to us as well. Submit an application to volunteer, and then we'll try to accommodate them as well as they can provide service for us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. And once again, that phone number is area code 626-307-1251. Norma, thank you very much for being here today.
My
we really
pleasure.
do appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's a great service, and we're proud of it.
Thank you. Thank you
Absolutely.
very much.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us here at the Monterey Park Bruggemeyer Library, and we will see you again soon. Have a great summer.